got a good voice. I actually thought the first little moment I had heard, I thought it was Monica for a second. Like, when does Monica do PA? I mean, I'm sure she could, but I have not seen her do PA.
These pinstripes are new.
Really?
For this season.
I like it.
I like it too. I told Gabby, the assistant coach, that's a nice look.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we have approached the final series of the season. Welcome to the start of May. It's the Georgetown Hoyas against the Connecticut Huskies. So glad you're with us here at the Washington Nationals Youth Baseball Academy. You're home for Georgetown softball for the last handful of years. I'm Christian Taylor. Georgetown just looking for something here in their final weekend, their senior weekend, if you will. It started with just one singular game each day this weekend. It has since switched to a doubleheader today. There's first one here at 3, the next one coming up at 5:30, and then one game tomorrow, senior day, against the Huskies. Meanwhile, for UConn, well, they're in that postseason spot again. Not the number 1 spot where they've been the last few years, but they are in and just looking to play for a better place. Julia Parker inside the circle for Georgetown. Lexi Hastings is the leadoff left fielder for the Huskies. And ball 1 starts off the game. First pitch coming at 2:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wind blowing just a little bit today. Sun is out, a little bit of clouds today, but gorgeous day nonetheless. Slapped over at shortstop. It's a good look for Levitt, and a quick 6-3 to start off the game. Lots cooler and easier to sit and stand around in today after being some pretty toasty days the last few days. Which honestly is a welcome sight after how cold it has been in the few weeks leading up. So Parker deals the first offering to Grace Jenkins, and ball 1 comes. Yeah, there were certainly some crazy ones here this season. Some home games there in March, and wow, were they some cold ones. Certainly April too. The next one from Parker elevates just a little as it goes to 2 balls and no strikes. This is how UConn line up. So Jenkins here in the 2 spot. Rosie Garcia, she's the third baseman. She bats third. Jonna Sandin is the shortstop. She bats fourth. Here comes Parker again. And the frame job by Pardini just a tad off as it's 3-0. Hope Jenkins is fifth. She's the DP for UConn. Sixth is Caitlin Kibling, the center fielder. Parker issues ball 4. So after the quick ground out, there's the walk. And in steps in the 3 batter in Rosie Garcia. So batting 7th is Haley Kupal. She's at first. Batting 8th, Juliana Abruscato is in right field, and 9th is Savannah Ring, the second baseman. Get a lot of consistent hitting in that 1 through 5 spot for UConn. And this team looking to get production in many other places as well against these Hoyas. So strike 1 to Rosie Garcia, the third baseman. Ripped into right field, falls for a base hit. And the next couple of runners are on for UConn. Steps in the cleanup in Jonna Sandin. So Sandin this season, 259, is the only player on this team to have started and played in all 48 this year. Your next closest, well, we got Caitlin Kibling, who has played in all games but has failed to start one. And Lexi Hastings did not appear in one game this year. But Sandin is the lone 48 for 48 and now 49 for 49. 0-1. Elevates a little bit. Levels up the count at 1 apiece here in this Friday afternoon in Washington, D.C. Parker has been one of the main looks this season for the Hoyas. Here it comes again. And there's strike 2. It was her and Brooke Plonka last year who were getting a lot of the looks, a lot of the starts. Parker's been a usual starter, really, in her full career here, as it's leveled up at 2 apiece. But this year, Parker being a big look, Kayla Dunn elevating her presence inside the circle. Last year, she had some pretty solid appearances as well. This one popped up, foul territory, and it stays there. 2-2. And then Avery Wismar is another choice for Coach Pat Conlon, as another season is coming to a close for her and her time here at Georgetown. 2-2. Just a little outside makes it 3-2. Runners at first and second for UConn. Jenkins got on thanks to a walk, and a single from Rosie Garcia has put things where they are right now. Wind up in the pitch for Parker. And another ball 4. So it pushes the bases loaded. Timely hitting is what UConn are looking for. Hope Jenkins, the designated player, in a pretty fantastic spot. 30 RBIs this season for Jenkins, which is 3rd on the team. In it comes. Ball 1. Parker right now, an issue or 2 finding the strike zone, as pitched around Jenkins and Sandin. And now here's the other Jenkins. The 2 sophomores have combined well, haven't they? The 2 Jenkins. 2-0. Julia Parker appearing in her 24th game this season. It's her 18th start, which is a team best. And it goes, foul ball. As Parker is closing in on the end of her time, too. The senior from South Plainfield, New Jersey. This final senior weekend Some seniors who are looking to end it off on a high note against a very good team. As it's ball 3. A strike really needs to be dealt by Julia Parker here. Or else a run is in. Here it comes. Right to Parker. Has to go home with it. There's one. Relay to first is in time. Needed to get out of it, and she did. A 1-2-3 double play to conclude the inning. All right, to the home half. No score between the two sides.
The warm-up? Oh, the warming up? Definitely, yes. No, thank you for alerting me. Well, that's what the, I mean, it's only the first inning, but what the UConn guy told me is, like, they've been good. Pitching's been fantastic, but it's been the timely hitting. Like, they can get their hits. It's just in a situation like that. Oh, yeah, seriously. Well, let's see here. She played at UConn, Coach Conlon, so. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. So, I think she just wants to beat them.
Georgetown get their crack in the bottom of the first inning. Glad you're with us. Christian Taylor here. The Nationals Youth Baseball Academy in Washington, D.C. Bases were loaded for UConn with 1 out. And then it was Hope Jenkins who grounded into a 1-2-3 double play. And the first batter for the Hoyas is Claire Turner, the center fielder. And the starting pitcher for UConn is Hallie Sims, who has been wonderful this season. And there's a ball. Sims has the most starts of anybody on this team. This is her 28th this season, by the way. 32nd appearance, just behind Megan O'Neill. Towards the third base side. Good scoop by Garcia. And the first out belongs to Claire Turner. Emily Strittmatter is the second base, or third baseman rather, for Georgetown, the second batter of this game. And this is how the rest of the lineup looks for the Hoyas. Naya Campos is the DP. She's next. Macy Levitt, the shortstop. Abby Cozo is in left. Gabby Park in right. She bats 6th. Kiaris Alvarado Rojas at first, batting 7th. Sims goes home. Strike 1. Holly Pardini, the catcher, bats 8th. Then Brooke Rebhan bats 9th and is at second base. Sims tosses this one home, a little outside. This has been one of the strengths this season for UConn, has been the pitching. Lead the conference in ERA. Opponent batting average has been very minimal as well. Combined about 226 this season is what other hitters are doing against any UConn pitching. 3-1. Not a decent hold, Strittmatter. Strittmatter just in her first year with Georgetown. Freshman from Scottsdale, Arizona. Coach Conlon does like to go out west for some of her players. Another one that's just foul as well. I mean, I could give you a really full list of players from out west, but there is another player from Arizona on this team, Nia Campos. She's the one on deck. Certainly has some rich softball tradition over there in that state. Foul ball again, takes it to 3-2. I think you got to give a little bit of credit to Emily Strittmatter. Now, the average this season is 248. But to come in and hit in the 2 spot, that's a difficult thing to do. And you see her earn the walk. Well, first base runner of the game for the Hoyas. And for Strittmatter, that is her 10th walk of the season. And step in, Nia Campos. Talk about growth from year 1 to 2 for her. When this team needed a home run hitter, they lost some big home run hitters. May Forshee departing, Cam Kondo departing last year. Who's next up to hit the home runs? And Nia Campos has elected to go her way. The team has 21 total homers this year, and she has 12 of them. 9 is spread out the rest of the way. Next best home run hitter has 2. And there's strike 2 to Campos. She's one of a few sophomores who, well, as freshmen last year, did have some looks, and now just getting even stronger. You're seeing the growth. A lot of times, you see that as the biggest growth for some players from year 1 to 2. Just a matter of getting up to speed. It changes paces, this game, doesn't it, from high school to college? Certainly at the D1 level. But it's how you adjust to it. And that's a great eye by Campos to make it 2-2. Runner at first is Emily Strittmatter. And now it's Campos, the other player from Arizona, Tucson to be exact. Swing and a miss. And Sims got the breaker on her. 2 away. And Macy Levitt now has her shout. Pitch is on the way and a swing and a miss. Macy Levitt, 216 this season. Has a total of 25 hits. Certainly gotta love the defense there at shortstop. Swing and a miss for strike 2. Levitt, who transferred over from Cornell. Total of 91 games over there. And working our way down from Ithaca, New York. There's a big swing and a drive into left field. It is foul. Not too far away. And that would have been the 3rd homer of the season for Levitt. She's one of those 2 home run players that we had mentioned when Campos was at the dish. Claire Turner being another one of those, as well as Samantha Miller. Takes another one in, it's low, and off goes the runner to second, and Strittmatter is in as it careens into center. It's a good idea. Gets the runner in scoring position. Levitt, who has 13 RBIs this season. Opportunity for another. Wind up and the pitch home. Outside. Pushes it to 2-2. Trying to retire the side, Hallie Sims. Off it goes. Oh, and it hits her on the elbow. And so now there's runners at first and second. Abby Cozzo. Now the batter. Playing in left field. Cozzo, 315. This is just her 32nd game this season. Off it goes, and that's a strike. Well, there's something there, you feel. She has pitched once, and it didn't go that well. Gave up 4 runs, and that one's fouled away. Just the start of it all, just to show that she is capable of it. But the hits this season for her, 17 of them, 4 RBIs, and that's a foul ball again. Oh, 0-2, and watches one just above the chest. And it goes to 1-2. As of recent, it's definitely been a little bit better for Kozo. She had a really nice Providence series, didn't she? Had a hit in all 3 of the games. And here's another one that's hit into center. It falls. Rounding third strip matters. She is in. And Abby Kozo, who's been seeing the ball well as of late, gives the Hoyas the 1-0 lead. Shows how important that hit batter was. Macy Levitt got hit. They were down to their last strike of the inning. Hit her, and it allowed Kozo to do her thing. What a shout she maybe could be for next season. They'll remember how she closed off this year. Gabby Park, a right fielder, crouched stance, and Jenkins has it careened and corralled. 1-0. Park, who's the sophomore from Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. Another freshman turned sophomore that's trying to do a few things. Infield, it's popped up. And well to claim is Kupal. And that concludes it all. But 1 run does cross for the Hoyas. It's their 1-0 lead heading into the second. This game goes on to the second. 1-0 for Georgetown on the final weekend, senior weekend, if you will. Game 1 of the doubleheader today from Washington, D.C. So it goes 6, 7, 8 for the Huskies. Caitlin Kibling is the center fielder. She is up first. Never really quite got to the plate. That last inning, bases were loaded, 1 out, and a double play to conclude it all. 1 ball and 1 strike. Wind blowing a little bit harder here now in DC. It's blowing in right now, and I feel like it's that wind that took that recent pop-up of Gabby Park and shortened it a little bit. Certainly saw some movement on the hit to center by Kozo, which scored the run. That's been the lone hit of the game for the Hoyas. That RBI single. Kibling waits on the next. And it doesn't do anything there. 3-1. Kibling from the left-handed batter's box. Here comes the next. Towering left. Kozo over to it, and it lands just outside of the UConn bullpen. Moves to 3-2. Kibling, who is the sophomore from Lafayette, New York. Attended Bishop Ludden Junior Senior High School. Off it goes by Parker. And it's a called strike 3. First K of the day for Parker. 1 down. Here's how the defense looks for Georgetown. That is Haley Kupal. Steps to the dish for UConn. Behind the plate is Holly Pardini. First base, Chiaris Alvarado Rojas. Second base, Brooke Rebhan. Third base, Emily Strittmatter. And at short is Macy Levitt. Left field, Abby Kozo. Center field, Claire Turner. Right field, Gabby Park. 1-0 from Parker. And the strike goes in. Kupal, who's over at first, a sophomore from North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Awaits the next one. Grounded right at third. That's a great lunge by Strittmatter. And a fantastic play to get her out. And that's 2. Again, so it's like a double bit of difficulty if you're Strittmatter, because not only are you hitting in the 2 spot, but they put you right in at that hot corner at third. 2 extremely hard things to do in this sport, and she's made it her own this year. Juliana Abruscato, who is in right field, is the batter with 2 outs. Senior from Smithtown, New York. And it goes, and it hits her. So 1 hit batter in the Georgetown end, and now 1 in the UConn end. And Savannah Ring, the second baseman now. Sophomore. Played in all 49 last year. Has done a lot of the damage this season at second base. Had a lot of good games this year, but playing in her 42nd on the season. There's ball 1. Sends the next one home, ripped in the left. Couple steps back from Kozo, and she secures. Parker gets out of the second inning. Georgetown are batting next.
In case you need it, I do have this. I have the lotion. Very nice. Well, this is SPF 100, so if yours is also 100, we can double it up there for you. My mom gets nothing lower than like 70. That's what I'm saying.
7, 8, 9 for Georgetown. It starts with Chiaris Alvarado Rojas. Happy you're with us, everybody. One final weekend, one final go. It's a doubleheader today. This is game 1. And Chiaris Alvarado Rojas sees a strike 1. So this softball team this season for Georgetown, 14-30, 4-17 in conference play, as their strike 2. Ended up finding a little bit of a groove midway through February. Wasn't ideal at the start of the year. Actually, they lost the first 4 games of the season. Then come Feb 11, well, they then went on to a 6-game win streak. Kind of showed what this team was perhaps capable of. But as what's been so apparent in the last handful of years is this Big East is extremely difficult. And there's strike 3 for Rojas, 1 away. Come Big East play, they won 1 of 3 against DePaul. Swept by Seton Hall, swept by Villanova, swept by Creighton. They did not have a win, Georgetown. So March 9th was where they started conference play 1-0. This Georgetown team did not win again until April 14th against Butler right here in this building, and it pushed them away. But you have this sense that this team's playing with just a little bit more gumption as of late as Pardini grounds out to third. So you get that win against Butler. Then you look to the St. John's series. They win the first game there. The second game, you lose by just a couple of runs. You scratch that series. Towson, you lost by 4 runs. Here's the new batter, and that is Brooke Rebhan. Then Providence was... Beg your pardon, folks. Still Pardini, who is at the plate. 1-2, and it's just a little outside. But you go to the Towson game. Of course, you lost by a few runs there. Providence, you won a game with as well. Right in the middle. Then you're coming off of a 2-1 win at George Washington. There's been just a little bit more here at the end. Now here's the ground ball to third, and it results in a 5-3 anyways. The second out. And now it's Brooke Rebhan. And you just want to see how this team finishes it all. And this is a program that does have a good handful of underclassmen. A lot of freshmen who have come in this season. So sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to figure out a couple of things. And there's a strike. Certainly how to play against the Big East, which causes problems for many different teams in this nation amongst just each other. Foul ball makes it 1-2. 2 outs with Sims pitching to Brooke Rebhan. 227 average this year. Swung on and missed, and gets right through her. So a couple of strikeouts for Sims as we go to the top of the third. 1-0 for Georgetown.
Thank you. No, thank you. I completely missed. I would have been like, oh, what's going on? I didn't have to change my scorebook because it was still a 5-3. That's right.
UConn's up again, top 3, and they go to the top of the order in Lexi Hastings. Batting from the left-hand side, she grounded out to shortstop to start off this game in the first. It's up high for ball 1. So we talked about Georgetown and how their season has progressed this season. For UConn, well, they are 27-22 this year, 13-8. They're coming off of back-to-back Big East wins. It's a big drive into right. It's heading towards Tory and just away from the fence. Oh, it's 1-1. So clearly expectations were high for this UConn team, and they lived up to quite a few of them. It's just a matter of the fact that Villanova has been just electric this season. But UConn at 13-8, once again, very good, and are looking in for that postseason spot. Last few years, they were the number 1 seed in the tournament and got knocked out each time. And they're going to go at it from a different way this year. Not as the 1, but trying to chase the number 1, which, I'll tell you what, again, Villanova has been pretty good there. It's 3-1 to Hastings. Foul ball, third base. And Villanova has really just secured that spot, haven't they? 21 games have been played. There's a 4-game differential between them and Creighton, who are in second. The thing is, every one of these teams, these top 6 that are perhaps most likely in, really the only thing that is not 100% certain is there's a swing and a miss by Hastings. And Parker got right back into that count, didn't she? After being down 3-1, couple strikes there. Remember, it's the top 6 teams for the Big East that get in. Providence are currently sitting in that last spot. St. John's, Seton Hall, UConn, Creighton, and Villanova are all in. So it's either Providence or Butler who would secure that final bit. Georgetown and DePaul are for sure out. 4 wins for the Hoyas, 3 wins for DePaul. And 2 of those 3 wins actually came against Georgetown. 0-1. And that's another strike. Grace Jenkins walked in the first inning and was the lead runner when the bases got loaded. But UConn, once again, it's just been a very solid year. Coach Laura Valentino has shown that she knows what she's doing as head coach of this Huskies team. Trying to follow suit with a lot of successful programs at this school. 2-2. But now in her 5th year, Coach Valentino, good pitching, good base running, good fielding. All of the above. And some very strong batters. Lexi Hastings being one of those, right? 400 this season, but she's batting over 500 in conference play, which is unheard of. And to believe it or not, she's 0 for 2 to start the day. There's ball 4. It's another walk for Grace Jenkins. She bats .341. So you can understand why Parker is kind of pitching around her, as Jenkins has the ability to hurt you in many different ways. Now it's Rosie Garcia. 1 out in the top of the 3rd. She singled in the 1st. It's the lone hit for UConn today. Strike 1. Both bullpens are empty right now, as Parker is pitching into her 3rd inning. Wind up in the pitch. It's a rise by Pardini behind the plate. And pushes the aces wild. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 on, 1 out. 1-0. Here comes Garcia. And she swings at that one, and it's foul again. leads with 10 homers this season. UConn coming in off of a series against Villanova in which they won 1 of 3. Ended up winning the Saturday game 5-4. But had a chance in those games that they did lose. Towering into left center. Camping underneath is Kozo. It's a second out. And this is how close it was. A 3-1 loss for UConn on last Friday. And then you win 5-4 on Saturday. And then Sunday you lost 2-1. All right there. It's the pitching of this UConn team that if the bats aren't there, the pitching keeps them in. And that's been very apparent in many of them this season. Jonas Sandin, who walked in this first inning, takes ball 2. 2 outs here. A strikeout and a flyout is what Julia Parker's been able to get. Puts a lot of emphasis into that one and is one pitch away from losing Sandin again, just as she did in the first. Wind picking up again. And there's a strike. Sometimes Parker likes to work from the opposite end of things. Slowly get back into the count. That's strike 2. She's right back in it. Was down 3-0 again. Was down 3-1 to Hastings, where she got her to strike out. And now all of a sudden, Jonas Sandin in a somewhat similar predicament. Payoff pitch coming. Grounded, third base, scooped up, throw to first is good. Strittmatter 5-3, and Parker climbing back into a few counts there. Through the top of the third. It is 1-0 for Georgetown. Hoya's bats are next.
Oh my gosh.
Claire Turner for Georgetown. In goes strike 1. She is the leadoff hitter for the Hoyas. Line out to third to start off the game. Quickly up the middle, and a base hit for number 12. Starts off the third inning on a good note. Trying to get to Hallie Sims. Emily Strittmatter walked, scored a run in the first inning, and here she is. And this is the defense, by the way, for UConn. Behind the plate is Grace Jenkins. First base, Haley Kupal. Bunt is shown. It's laid down. And, oh, it's off the glove at first base. It was a little too high. Both runners advance one more. Sometimes you just have to put the ball in play. It's a little too tall there. And Naya Campos, the dangerous Campos, is the batter, and a time is called. So chat will be made with Hallie Sims. Here's the rest of the defense, by the way. We mentioned Kupal's over at first, Savannah Ring at second, Rosie Garcia at third, Jonna Sandin is at short, Lexi Hastings left field, Caitlin Kibling in center, and in right field is Juliana Abruscato. And they are calling that as an error, probably an E1 there from the bad throw. Sometimes just got to put that ball in play. That's what she did there. So we'll see what this conversation is, because Campos is perhaps the most dangerous hitter on this team. You try pitching around her, try getting her to first or not. Or they just want to go at her. Right now, Sims is pitching to her. It's ball one. See if they give her anything to hit. Delivery home. Check swing. It is around for a strike. 1-1. Actually looked like over at third, Rosie Garcia tumbled a little bit. But she's okay now. 1-1. It's another strike. Very important coming from Sims. So perhaps the conversation being both A, what pitches they actually wanted to give Campos, and secondly, how quickly do they want to go at her? If they want to put her on automatically. Well, she made some contact there. And is at 2 strikes still. Georgetown in a really good spot. Chance to tack on a couple more. Georgetown leading 1-0. Outside for ball 2. UConn bench thought that that was the pitch that they were looking for. 2-2. And some stirring in the UConn bullpen. Off it goes. Swing and a miss. Campos is out for the second time today on strikes. Macy Levitt got hit by a pitch in the first. Opportunity is here for Georgetown. Can they capitalize? They had 2 runners on, second and third, no outs. Now there's 1. Sims, we mentioned her pitching appearances, but a 3.21 ERA this year. Foul ball. So in the most innings of anybody on this team. And now about 133. Opponent batting average is 236. Not to mention 147 strikeouts coming in. That's a foul tip into the glove. Strike 2. That is by far the team lead. Next best. Well, it's a tie for 87. Megan O'Neill and Peyton Kinney, who have been outstanding in their own right. Just a little outside. Moves it to 2-2. Happy you're with us on this Friday afternoon in Washington, D.C. Sims going against Levitt, the batter. Takes it home. Foul ball. And this extremely interesting at-bat continues. A long stare and wind up, and the pitch. Grounded, foul. Did not miss by much. Just tense after every pitch here. All of these just so much more important than the last. Sims with yet again a long stare. Knows this needs to be one of her best, and it's right there at third. Oh, the tag is applied. Garcia scooped it up, and it was just a matter of where Turner was standing. And it works as a 5 unassisted fielder's choice. I mean, both lucky and unlucky on both sides. Garcia was in the right place, and due to how smart she is, the way she plays, knew that she just had to turn around. Turner was already there. Foul ball. But Turner, unlucky on her end because she's just doing what you should be doing as a base runner. Is taking a couple steps off after that pitch is thrown. Well, after that pitch crosses the plate, really. And just rolled right into her wheelhouse. Foul ball. 0-2. Sims with a chance to get out of this. Yeah, so Turner, you can't fault her. Just trying to go right when that pitch is released. That's it. 1-2. This inning stays alive. Abby Kozo, who had the RBI single in the first, who again has been seeing this ball well. Takes in the next one, it scoops in a bit and doesn't eat up Jenkins. She had it marked. Now the deuces are truly wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 2 out. It is the bottom of the third. Wind up of the pitch, foul again. Right near Coach Conlin. Over at first, always encouraging over there. After all, she is coaching against her former team. That's where she played, was at UConn. Was stellar there. Absolutely stellar. Grounded at second. Should be easy, and it's converted by Ring. 4-3 to conclude the third inning. Couple runners stranded for the Hoyas. We go to the fourth, 1-0 for Georgetown. To the fourth inning, Hope Jenkins for UConn. Down 1-0. As Julia Parker works into her fourth inning. Parker's ERA this season is a 5.50. Still in the second most innings on this team behind Kayla Dunn. Opponent batting average is .276. Enters with 52 walks, given up 48 strikeouts. But today has 2 strikeouts dealt. And a strike to Jenkins, one of the 2 Jenkins sisters, her and Grace, both adding something else to a different part of the game. There's a strike. Hope Jenkins is listed as a pitcher. Has just 16 appearances this year inside the circle. Last year, led the team with 133 innings pitched, but that hitting has gotten stronger and stronger for her, and it's hard to look away from that spot. Certainly when you have the arms that you do already, with Peyton Kinney being just a little more healthy. I know she's been working on a knock or two, but with her being more healthy, O'Neal doing her thing, Sims doing her thing. Hope Jenkins still pitching, but she's just about your 4th option now. And you like to use her as much as possible, so why not use her at the plate as the DP? 2-2. Swing and a miss. First out of the 4th. Caitlin Kibling. So Kibling, mentioned the sophomore from Lafayette, New York. Where is that number 12? Just a little outside there. 46 appearances last season, 27 starts. Didn't have a plethora of hits, but it was a crucial and integral first season. Bunt was shown. Look how quickly Strittmatter was there, running in on that. Makes it 1-1. Class D New York State Softball Player of the Year in 2021 and 2022. Was a 2021 New York State Section 3 Class D champion. And was a 2-time first-team All-CNY selection as well. Actually, 3 straight years as first team. One and 2. She struck out looking in the 2nd inning and is searching for some work here in the 4th. And a good handful of UConn fans here in the vicinity today. Make that trip down from Storrs to our nation's capital. Full count. Kibling, the center fielder, awaits. Called strike 3. Just buckled in on her a little bit. It's a great pitch by Parker. 2 retired. Haley Kupal. A ground out to 3rd in the 2nd inning. She plays as the first baseman. Strike 1. We mentioned the sophomore. UConn as well. They really didn't lose anybody from last year. Obviously, they did, but a lot of returners this season. But you also have the growth of some freshmen turned into sophomores this year, as had the Hoyas. Kupal last year, 37 appearances. Actually, a pretty decent outing, really. It has a total, as a whole, was about .260 batting average. Had a handful of hits on the year. 14 hits, 12 RBIs. Now this year, just a $188, but it's only missed a few. It's only missed 3 to be exact. Already has beaten that total of hits that what she had last year. It's full again. Tell you what, Julia Parker takes it late, but it's up to her to decide how she wants to go with it. Looking to strike out the side and can't do so. It's ball 4. Keeps this inning alive. 4th walk from Parker. Juliana Abruscato, the senior from Smithtown, New York. It's a great name, too. Abruscato. Right side, foul territory. And not interested was everybody else out there. Started with that first season of hers where she appeared in 8 games. And the last few seasons has been somewhat similar. Appeared in the mid-30s when it comes to games. And there's strike 2. Abruscato in the 40s this season. 44th game this year. 38th start, batting 181. And here in this 8th spot, looking for some damage to commence. Swing and a miss for strike 3. Parker went right at the senior. So 4 batters step in. 3 of them gone on strikeouts. 1-0 for Georgetown. Bottom of the 4th is next. Gabby Park for Georgetown, 6-7-8, with them leading 1-0. Happy you're with us today. Washington Nationals Youth Baseball Academy in beautiful Washington, D.C. And it's still Sims out there. It'll give us a chance to talk about her just a little bit more. So as we mentioned, Hope Jenkins had thrown a lot more innings last year for UConn. Well, wondering maybe why it's not quite as many this year. Firstly, of course, is because of how good the hitting is. But secondly, it's because Sims came in. The senior from Stuttgart, Arkansas, transferred in from Memphis and was a really good pitcher over there. Has been really reliable for them. Was leading the team in strikeouts for a few years. Actually just surpassed over 300 strikeouts in her career as well. So this is what the team did over there. Memphis popped up, foul territory. It's the catcher in Jenkins calling off everybody. 1 out in the 4th. So over there at Memphis, led the team back-to-back years in strikeouts, had a total of 91 last season. Already talked about her total this year, 147. It's her career best by a bit, and she's been pretty dominant. But here was his poorer side of it. As the pitch comes home, strike 1. Chiaris Alvarado Rojas, who struck out swinging in the 2nd. There at Memphis, that team, not ideal. Last year, that team went 8-43. Grounded it short. There goes Sandin. Whips it over. 2 outs. But that Memphis team, folks, 6 conference wins total in the last 3 years when Hallie Sims was there. 2 total wins in conference each of those years. So Sims now being at UConn, this year alone already has double the amount of conference wins than she did in all of her first 3 years over at Memphis. And she's been a big part of that. But she had 33 total wins. Well, at least was a part of it. Didn't get the pitching wins, but the overall wins, 33 of them in her Memphis career. And if UConn play their cards right, that means winning the final 3 games of this regular season, winning games in the postseason. She could have more in 1 year that she did in her entire career at Memphis. Well, she was doing things like that there in Memphis, and she's doing them again here at UConn. 1-2-3 inning for Sims. 5th inning is next on Hoya or on YouTube here.
I like it. I've always thought it was cool. That sounds cool. Very professional. Yes. Willy Wonka-esque. Yeah.
To the 5th inning with Georgetown leading 1-0. 3 combined hits in this game. 2 for the Hoyas, 1 for UConn. There have been base runners, walks, and hit batters have been the others. Julia Parker nursing a very tight lead right now in the final senior weekend at the Washington Nationals Youth Baseball Academy. That's a ball, 1-1. Savannah Ring is the batter. She flew out to left field in the 2nd inning. Sophomore. Played in all 49 last year. To 42 this year. It's another strike. So she got a hit in her last game, Savannah Ring. It's her first hit in 20 days. First hit since St. John's game on April 7th. Sometimes a hit can ignite a little bit of success and a little bit of confidence. And looking to continue with that here today. Pitch is on its way and cracked foul. 2-2. Savannah Ring, and then it goes to the top of the order. Top of the order that has provided some problems for Parker. Ring, 237 average this year, 23 hits, just 6 RBIs. You know, she'd like that number to be just a little bit more, but as a player that you just really want to have on your team. 3-2 from Parker. Right side, foul again. UConn trailing 1-0 against Georgetown. The lone run of the game came in the first. It was an RBI single from Abby Kozo. Scored Emily Strittmatter. That has been the lone difference so far. Into left, another foul ball. Saw some of that rubber skip up a bit. Gorgeous field, really, here. And it's a place that Georgetown's been able to call home for a little bit. We'll share a home with Howard University, also here in Washington, D.C. There's ball 4. Leadoff walk doesn't necessarily spring results if you're a pitcher. Alexi Hastings will look to take it upon herself here. Oh for 2. Ground out to short and a strikeout swinging. Showed that bunt, brought it back, strike 1. Junior from Lynchburg, Virginia. Not ages away from here. A little bit closer to here than Storrs is, if you went the other way. Up and away. Leads the Big East in hits. 33. Conference batting average is .524. Just really rare that you find a game where she does any wrong. Usually been just so perfect, mostly perfect in the way she's gone about it. Last year, you know, against Georgetown, she had 3 hits in the first game and then no hits the rest of the series. So has not had any hits against the Hoyas since that first one of last year. That was, of course, up in Connecticut. 3-1. Well, that's how it was last time round. She was up in the count and then lost it. Julia Parker climbed on back in. Up to the center. Second baseman misses the tag. Rebhan turned around and it was a good jump by Ring. It got her there. And see how they call that here, because sometimes can list that as just a fielder's choice. They will give that as a hit to Hastings, so that's her first of the day, and the first hit of any Husky since the first inning, and Rosie Garcia's single. And now it's Grace Jenkins, who has back-to-back walks. It's up in the first, up in the third. Same result. And there's a strike. This is a UConn team, folks, that causes havoc on the base paths. Maybe not quite to the extent of the last few seasons. Coach Valentino has been known to get a runner on and, then something's going to happen. Very aggressive base running. So this year they're 63rd in the nation, which is still very good, but they were a little bit higher last year. They're 63rd right now in stolen bases per game. In 2021, they had 81 stolen bases, and then last year, I beg your pardon, in 2022, 131 stolen bases, and last year 119, which was good for 12th in the nation. And stolen bases per game was 7th. And all of that helped catapult them to the #1 seed in the Big East tournament and a regular season crown. 2-2. But as we mentioned, this year it's a notch lower, still in the top 100 in the country, which is hard to do in its own right, but this team just trying to do what they need to do. Swung on, hit into left center, over the head of Turner, and it falls. Looks to quickly relay this one in. Throw was there, but not quite on target. And a run is in for the first time today for UConn. Jenkins' RBI double ties up the game. And this game is on if you're UConn. You just needed a big hit. It started with the 9 spot in Ring. She got the walk. Hastings did her thing. And now Jenkins has tied up the game in the 5th. And you know they'd love to get to a lead, UConn, because Megan O'Neill has played the role of coming in and closing the games. 5 saves this season. Steadies the ship. Sims has kept Georgetown down at the 1 run. It's allowed some time for these Huskies to respond on offense. Now they have 1, and Rosie Garcia has runners at 2nd and 3rd. Through the gap and into left field, and UConn have the lead. Rosie Garcia, RBI single. It happens in the blink of an eye. Runners at the corners, no outs. And UConn with a 2-1 advantage. Time is called. This might be a pinch runner for Coach Valentino. Let's see what they opt to go with here. Yeah, looks like that's going to be the case. Rhea Snyder, the freshman from Glastonbury, Connecticut, is putting on that helmet. And that's her cue. So pinch run for Garcia. Snyder appearing in her 32nd game this season, all off the bench. Is 6 of 7 for stolen bases. And I might try to do something here. This one, deep in the right center, it's playable. Park is underneath, and the tag on the way, and successful. Jonna Sandin with the sacrifice fly. And that scores Jenkins, 3-1 for UConn. So that is the first out of this inning, but UConn have put together their damage, now leading 3-1. Manufacturing some runs here and getting the timely hitting from the top 4 spots of the lineup. And Parker, who was doing her thing through the first 4 innings, has now seen one slip. Needs some help from her batters. A strike there. 1-2. To Hope Jenkins, struck out swinging in the 4th and grounded into that 1-2-3 double play in the 1st. Grounded at second base. Could have the opportunity to turn another double play. Can't do it, just a 4-6. Fielder's choice, 2 away. Order bounces through. Caitlin Kibling. 2 strikeout lookings, including 1 in the last half inning in the 4th. Strike 1 there. Jenkins is at first, has not attempted a stolen base this season. So Parker might be safe, although you never know. 1 ball and 1 strike to Julia Parker as the pitcher, and the batter being Caitlin Kibling. There is some stirring. Kayla Dunn is doing her thing over there in the Hoyas bullpen. 2-1. But a pleasure to have you with us here today, folks. Wind is blowing. It's a very weird bit. It's in between needing a sweatshirt and not needing a sweatshirt. The sun's hot, but the wind is not. There's a strike. It has definitely cooled down since the last few days here on the East Coast. Parker with the long stare, trying to get out of this here. Needs one more strike, and hasn't quite gotten it. It's ball 4. No, it should be ball 3. Kibling tossed her bat as if it was ball 4, and gets back into it, so has to change the mentality. I think what the issue was, I think the scoreboard had read 3 for a half a second, so I think she saw that. It quickly gone back to 2-2. And foul ball. Oh, that bench is loud for UConn. And they've certainly been liking this inning. 3 runs crossing the plate. Took a piece of this one into right, and it falls in front of Park. And going over to third is Jenkins. She is in. And the line keeps moving for UConn. See what Coach Conlon wants to try and do. Parker's still just 1 out away from getting out of this inning, even with Dunn warming up. After all, this is perhaps the last weekend for Julia Parker. Wants to end in a good way. Now it's Haley Kupal, first baseman. Walked her last time up. Elevates a bit. There's the stolen base attempt, and it nearly ricocheted into center. And that is why you back it up. For Kibling, that is her 11th successful stolen base this season. That's second best on the team. Hastings has the most. She's 27 of 34. Basically, if second base is open, she's going. And there's a strike. This UConn team just stuck along with it. Still a few innings to go, of course, but you get to this 5th inning, you only had 1 hit. One has sprouted out more. Right at third, oh, Strittenmatter has to recover. She does. That bobbled it just a half second, but she's quick enough to seal the deal. So, 3 runs crossed for UConn. They leave a couple more stranded, but they have the 3-1 lead. Georgetown, chance to respond. Bottom of the 5th next. Okay, so now Georgetown's time in the bottom of the 5th. Brooke Rebhan is the second baseman. She struck out swinging in the 2nd inning. That was second time up here. And it's still Hallie Sims out there. Extra stirring in that UConn pen. Looks like Avery Wismar is also warming up for the Hoyas. So Dunn was warming. Now Wismar is. One and 1 to Rebhan, the freshman from Miami and a Westminster Christian school. In it goes, foul ball. Moves it to 1-2. Rebhan this season, 227. He's had 29 hits. The 9th spot has been a spot for her. Trying to give a little bit of a weapon down there at the bottom end. It's like what Claire Turner was able to do last year, remember? Had a lot of games where she was in the 9 spot and got her just a little bit of experience to now where Coach Conlon was very comfortable to push her up to the 1. And it's worked out well for her. 2-2. Lots of freshmen on this team. Take a look at how this whole lineup is put together. So of the 9 starting, so there's a ball. The only upperclassman, Macy Levitt, who is a grad student, and Kiaris Alvarado Rojas, who is a junior. Otherwise, everybody else, sophomore or freshman. It is a young team, and there's ball 4. And a leadoff walk. Well, mentioned, they're in the top of the 5th for UConn. For Parker, leading off the inning with a walk. It's always difficult for a pitcher to get out of that. There's just something about the leadoff walk that usually just stirs a little bit of momentum. And it did for the Huskies. And Georgetown are trying to do it themselves. Ball is lost out of the bullpen with Avery Wismar warming up. 3-1 is the score. It is Claire Turner who represents the tying run right now, bottom 5. Well, as we mentioned, that switch to the top of the lineup has boded well for her. Batting .300 this season, a second best average on the team. They started and played in all of them as the time's called. Jenkins will talk with Sims here for a moment. 36 hits is second best on the team, actually now up to 37, which is still second best, but 1 away from Naya Campos. How about Turner with a couple of home runs herself, too? And a slugging of .425, on base percentage .397. And the umpire will walk out here. It's been a lengthy chat. It's perhaps Grace Jenkins feeling that some of these pitches aren't quite the way that she'd like them released from Sims. Well, we mentioned that the bullpen was busy for both teams. Now there's nobody on either end. The breaker. Well done to lay off. Claire Turner, 1 for 2 today. Lined out to third in the first and singled in the 3rd inning. Two balls and 1 strike from Hallie Sims. Known to get out of a lot of issues. And switches it to 2-2. Claire Turner coming off of a 2 for 3 game against George Washington earlier this week. You know, if not for that 0 for 3 game 2 against Providence, be on a 7, now 8 game hit streak, Claire Turner. One thing that you notice about her is her pace, too. She can move. That's helped her get some hits. That's inside. Oh, and a hitter. And Turner's on. It didn't hit her by much, but a hit is a hit. It grazed her. So now the first 2 runners are on for Georgetown. Emily Strintmatter, who has had a very unconventional day, walked, scored a run, and reached on an error in the 3rd. Remember, she laid down that bunt. Runners were able to move on. Coach Valentino, now with a conversation with the home plate umpire. Let's see what the change is going to be. If it's going to be a circle, I believe it is, a pitching change. And that's exactly what Coach Valentino has decided. So that will be it for Sims. Those 2 runners are hers. But running into a little bit of trouble. It brings in Megan O'Neill, the closer, if you will. And we'll take a brief pause, folks. Georgetown trailing 3-1. Tie and run standing at first. It is Megan O'Neill as the pitcher for UConn. Was 3rd last season in Division I in saves, had 9. Has 5 this season. It was really a new role for her last year when it came to that closing out role. But, you know, when this team's ahead late, they go to her, and she steadies the ship. Emily Strittmatter is who will see O'Neill first. All-time program record in appearances, Megan O'Neill. Now her 146th. Leads this season now with her 37th appearance. A 2.28 ERA and 5 saves. 1-2. Runners at first and second. At second is Brooke Rebhan, who walked. And then Claire Turner got hit by a pitch, just grazed right at about the stomach. O'Neill home, big pop of the mitt. It's leveled at 2. So interesting here, so interesting. Really big opportunity for the Hoyas. One that they'll certainly not want to squander. Oh, it's moved full. On deck is Naya Campos, who can do anything that she sets her mind to. Full. In by O'Neill, and it's fouled, and it stays here. The 2 runners at first and second belong to Sims. And Megan O'Neill trying to preserve those. Swung hit to the first baseman. It's caught. Kupal then steps on first, and that's the second out. Another quick unassisted double play. Two outs. Wow. So you saw one earlier in this game. Macy Levitt, I beg your pardon, it was the third baseman in Rosie Garcia who had found one right then and there at third when Macy Levitt was at the plate and was able to quickly tag out Claire Turner as an unassisted fielder's choice. And now a double play, the catch and the step on first. And all of a sudden, O'Neill, one more strike to get out of this inning. Naya Campos has 2 strikeouts in this game. Just a little outside, good layoff by the sophomore from Tucson, Arizona. Leader in batting average, coming off of an 0-for-2 game against the Revolutionaries. Holds off again. Wow. In a really good position, Georgetown. Strittmatter right over at Kupal, who grabbed it and went down to it. Stepped and put her glove on first. Double play and a chance to get out of this. Foul ball. Very high. It lands on top of the roof of the very nice clubhouse there at the Nationals Youth Baseball Academy. It's a great facility. Certainly can't take away from that. 3 very nice fields. 1 good baseball. Certainly this softball one where a lot of teams play home. And it's another one grounded at first, and Kupal is good for all 3 outs of that 5th inning. Georgetown leaves some runners on, and they trail 3-1 heading into the top of the 6th. Julia Parker's day is done. Through 5 innings. Allowed the 3 runs. And now it is Avery Wismar to take hold inside the circle. The junior from Brentwood, Tennessee. We'll start with the bottom of the order before it switches to the top for UConn. Juliana Abruscato, who is 0 for 1, got hit by a pitch in the 2nd, struck out swinging in the 4th inning. It's a ball from Wismar. The ERA, 8.21 this season, has a record of 2-6, 19 appearances, 11 starts. Actually, he's thrown a couple of complete games this year, and looking to work into her 50th inning pitched. Big step up from last year. Foul ball. Last year for Wismar, she had appeared in 5 games and really only had 1 game after the end of March. It was against George Mason. And this year it's been a little more plentiful. There's a swing and a miss. Wismar's last pitching performance was against Providence, where she threw an inning and a third. That was the final game. Threw an inning and 2/3 in game 1 against the Friars. Towering. Left side, playable. Kozo has it tracked. And that's 1 out. First from Wismar. Now it's Savannah Ring as this wind continues. Long stare in as Wismar bounces one in just behind the plate. So Wismar, it's been just a steady climb for her, certainly when it comes to the appearances. It seemed like last year there was always a game or two where she was warming up a bit as there's a bunt opportunity. Oh, it's a decent idea from Ring, and she makes it count. Saw the chance, placed the bunt perfectly, and it gets her in there and sets up the opportunity for Hastings. Well, last time Ring was on was in the 5th inning. And she came around to score. It's because she got on for Hastings, who helped continue the line as they've worked to the top of the order. First one was held off by Hastings. Has 3 straight games with 2 hits. Did that in every game in that Villanova series, Hastings. Something that is also very difficult to do against those Wildcats. 1-1. Her 27 stolen bases, we mentioned, 17th in the nation, by the way. As I said, if there's a base in front, that is hers. And she can certainly lay down a good bunt. And maybe worried Wismar there, as it was hastily tossed outside the strike zone. 2-1. Sun is on its way down here in Washington, D.C. Game 1 of a doubleheader. Next one coming up at approximately 5:30. Clanking off the cage and foul. 2-2. It's been a fun game. Well, Hoyas had the 1-0 lead early. They got that in the first. And Parker held it for a bit, but the 5th inning is when UConn started doing their thing. And now they're here in the 6th, trying to help out O'Neal, who has since come in for Sims. Foul ball. 2-2. Just one out in the top of the 6th inning. One final weekend. Just one game tomorrow, and that is senior day for Georgetown. All the parents here in the building supporting the seniors. And it skips off the glove of Pardini. It's a very easy trot in the second for Savannah Ring. 3-2. So, I mean, it's a senior class that isn't massive. Cameron Winchester, who's a grad student. Samantha Miller's a senior. Julia Parker is a senior. And Macy Levitt, grad student. That would be all. Swung on and missed. It's a rare swing that Hastings wasn't quite on. And it's strike 3. It's her second K of the day. Now it's Grace Jenkins, who has failed to be retired today. Couple of walks, doubled, RBI and a run scored in the 5th inning. Wismar, on her end, just one out from getting out of the 6th. The runner at second is Savannah Ring, who got on thanks to a bunt single, and now has 2 hits in the last couple of games. So one here, one in the last game as well. Sometimes it's just getting that confidence. Pops the glove for a strike. 1-1. It's a lengthy drive down for UConn to get down here. Ordinarily, it's not awful. I mean, you're driving from Connecticut down to Washington, D.C. You gotta go through a handful of states there. Mainly New York City, which is always chaos driving, but gotta go through the Jersey Turnpike, which usually isn't too bad, but you gotta go straight down Delaware, a little sliver of Delaware, down through Maryland to get down here. A lot of pockets of space where you could get slowed down, and that's what's happened. At least what I was told with the drive down, but got here and have set themselves up for potentially game 1 win if they can hold on to this. But, you know, it's got to be fun always visiting a different city. Certainly like Washington, D.C. That's the beauty of the Big East. You get a lot of cool places to go to. Ball 3. Obviously, you get the capital of the country, where you can visit Omaha, Nebraska for Creighton, Milwaukee, Wisconsin for Marquette. I mean, that's not the case for softball, but obviously Providence, Rhode Island for Providence. Next one is coming in, hit into left center. That's a great hit. It goes all the way to the wall. Ring scores easy. Grace Jenkins is taking apart the Georgetown pitching. Another RBI double. It's 4-1 for the Huskies. As perfectly placed as she could have wanted it. Jenkins, who is number 2 on the team when it comes to batting average, she leads in the category of RBIs and now has 2 of the 4. It's ball 1. Wismar allowed that bunt single to Savannah Ring, who was so smart about it. And it's just little moments like that that can simply just separate you a bit. 2-0. So the runner at second now is Jenkins, trying to score yet another run. It's been late heroics for UConn. Popped up left side. Park has it. And that is all for the 6th. Retires Garcia. To the home half of the 6th inning. As we mentioned, it's 4-1 for UConn. They got 2 more innings to try and hold on. It is Macy Levitt for Georgetown, the bottom of the 6th. Game still in reach, but they have to face Megan O'Neill, who is as electric as it comes at this part of the game. So not only in the 5th inning did O'Neill come in and not allow a run, she inherited 2 base runners. She almost eliminated all of them as well. Macy Levitt got hit by a pitch in the 1st, and it was that weird third base unassisted play by Rosie Garcia where she grabbed the ball and tagged Claire Turner. Well, you know, we mentioned Coach Conlon for Georgetown, and she was a former player over at UConn. So there's always just a little bit of sense of urgency maybe against her former side. But as a player there at UConn, led the Huskies to a 5th place finish in the 1993 Women's College World Series. Was an All-American, named Big East Pitcher of the Year. There's a ball. First team all Big East, all New England, all ECAC, and all Northeast. In 4 years, those UConn teams, 4 Big East tournament titles. And there is strike 3 to Macy Levitt. 1 out. On her own inside the circle. 55-17 career record for her. Set school records for wins in a season with 26, shutouts in a season with 14, and complete games with 26, and consecutive innings without allowing an earned run. 73 straight innings, which is ridiculous. And that ERA, get this. This was Pat Collins' ERA at UConn, as Abby Kozo sees one in for a strike. .33. Who does that? That was ranked second nationally. Just 11 runs allowed in 231 innings. That is unheard of. So yeah, she's a UConn legend. And, you know, there's always a special place in her heart for that school up in Stores. But her priority, and what has been her priority for almost 20 years, has been Georgetown softball. Grounder to third, and Garcia throws out Kozo. Second out. It has been really all Conlin in all of Georgetown. Led them into the Big East in 2019. Or beg your pardon, 2009. And has seen a lot of all Big East selections. Seen a postseason a few times. Not quite to the amount that she wants, certainly in the recent years. They were pretty close last year, remember, before it fell away on the last day, last weekend, last season. And there's a strike to make it 0-2. But Coach Conlin has been known to build up some teams. Last year was kind of the culmination of what was a rebuild a few years prior to last year. And they got there, got some help with some transfers, and just missed the mark of getting into the postseason. This year, as we've said a few times, it's a lot of underclassmen. The rebuild is on again for the Hoyas. And there's yet again another sense of what this team could do. There have been glimpses of it. Lots of glimpses. Just not fully put together. Swing and a miss. O'Neal dominating. 1-2-3. And to the 7th inning, this game goes. 4-1 is UConn's lead. Seventh inning for UConn as they lead 4-1. Happy you're with us at the Washington Nationals Youth Baseball Academy. It's 1 of 2 today. So if the Hoyas drop this one, they got a chance to still salvage the day. UConn making their way down from Storrs, Connecticut. They drove, as we mentioned, bus that is branded as UConn. Was told by the softball sports information director, Manny Hatzakostas, that, on their way down, you can't miss the bus. I mean, you see the logo, you see the UConn word mark. Obviously, there's no secret. There's ball one to Jonna Sandin. There's no secret to why UConn's been in the news the last few years. That men's basketball team, dominant in the last 2 years, winning back-to-back national titles. And there is a buzz, Manny told me, there is a buzz on campus up there. And you can sense the buzz when you're just driving down, because he mentioned on the trip, a lot of cars passing by, honking, waving, everything. I think they thought Coach Hurley was on the bus, and this was the men's basketball team driving down. No, it was the softball. Still very, very good in their own right, that's for sure. Ripped into left, foul ball. But it certainly got an extra bit of appeal now. It already did, with so much going on at that campus of UConn. Already a lot of good athletics, but when you get a high-profile couple of national titles like that, you see the name UConn and you're immediately just matched with success in your mind. It doesn't matter what the sport is. You see that name now and you understand that it's perhaps the real deal. And the same is 100% said about Georgetown, certainly with what their soccer teams have been able to do. You see that baseball team, and now the things that they're doing is there's a called strike three to Sandin. First out of the seventh. They'll bring in Hope Jenkins. Certainly now, Ed Cooley at Georgetown on the men's basketball side. How about that women's basketball team, by the way? Working it to the women's basketball championship game in the Big East. Kelsey Ransom and co. They lost to UConn, Paige Beckers and co. But you see the name Georgetown as well. Really, you see the names of both of these two schools, and you know that there's greatness attached to it. One and one. Into left, quick and easy for Hope Jenkins. She is on for the second time today, but on with her first hit. Good. Grounded into a fielder's choice in the fifth inning. And this, once again, could be a pinch runner. Huskies trying to get up to 5. Maybe just one more insurance run for Megan O'Neill. Not like she needs it because she's just so good, but anything helps, certainly. You just never know in the Big East. And certainly Hoya batters who can do their own bit. It'll be 7-8-9 for them coming up in the bottom of the 7th. Pinch runner for UConn is Kaylee DeMayo, freshman from Franklin Square, New York. Ball one. Kibling singled in the 5th inning. Couple strikeout looking, 2nd and 4th. Wismar trying to hold, and a bunt foul off of Kibling. Pretty steady center fielder. Obviously the pace is there. We mentioned the hitting for Kibling, 217. It's just been a steady presence, certainly on the defensive end of things. But on offense, she's had a time or two. There's a bunt, and it's just out of the reach of Pardini. This season, by the way, for Kibling, we talked about the defense. There's a really big reason why she hasn't been replaced out there as well. is she has just one error this season. So when you have somebody very capable, that'll do you a lot of good. UConn, the third best fielding team in the conference. There goes the runner, and in safely is DeMeo. Fourth successful stolen base this season. And 2-2. Of course, the #1 defensive team in the conference is Seton Hall. They're actually #1 in the nation. Fly ball left field. Kozo ranges towards it, and it's 2 outs. Step into the dish, Haley Kupal, the first baseman. It's been a little unlucky for her today. Couple of ground outs to third, and had a walk in the fourth, so strip matter better be ready. I'd like to assume that Wismar is here to just see it out. Well, she just needs one more out, perhaps. But there was an idea of Kayla Dunn there for a second, but I think Coach Conlon wanted to go Parker game 1, perhaps Dunn for game 2. And we'll see exactly how that goes. Sent home, and it carries away from the strike zone. Happy to have you with us here. The Nationals Youth Baseball Academy. It is May, which means Big East tournament time. And UConn are there. But they want to go in winning. Looking to get to the postseason for the first time since the early 2000s. 2-1. Runner at second is the pinch runner, and DeMeo is running for Hope Jenkins, who singled. Taken in on this one, right at third again. Another 5-3 ground out for Kupal. And that's all for the 7th. So Georgetown's last crack, home half, is next. It is a pinch hitter for Georgetown. Abby Schiller steps in for Kiaris Alvarado Rojas. And she will start off the 7th inning. So Megan O'Neill has stayed out there. She came in the 5th with 2 runners on. Got a double play, an unassisted double play, and then another one, a ground out to first. Got out of it. Last inning was 1-2-3, so has not allowed anybody to reach in her short time out there. Schiller does not have a hit yet this year. Junior from Carmel Hamlet, New York. Attended the Hackley School. 1-2. Coach Conlon searching for anybody I do something here. The last hit for Georgetown, you have to go back to the third inning. It's a single for Claire Turner. And here's a chance into center. It's in for a base hit. So Schiller is on. You see what it means to her. It's her first hit of 2024. Her first hit since 2023. And that one hit was February 19th of 2023 against Lehigh. Well, it has been a while. Time called for Coach Conlon. Also right now it's a pinch hitter. Kayla Dunn standing in. Dunn was a pretty solid hitter last season, but this year it's been a lot of ideas coming from inside the circle for her. And that average has dropped just a little bit. 132 this year, just 5 hits. But you're looking for anything. Try and push UConn as far as you can. Oh, 1. That's the first runner that Megan O'Neill has allowed on. Wind really moving here. Sets in for this one. Trapped low by Jenkins. But it doesn't skip anywhere. Kayla Dunn has usually been the pitcher. Probably the Game 2 starter. 5.32 ERA. Foul ball there. Most appearances of anybody with 30 this season. And the most innings, 132. Been fairly steady. There's over 100 strikeouts this season. The junior from Holly Springs, North Carolina. Levels up the count at 2. Was fairly tight, just outside of the black. It's an interesting shift here with Kibling as the center fielder. As that one kept away. Kibling as the center fielder has moved from our vantage point, handful of steps left. The middle is wide open. Left center is wide open. Obviously they do the research. They know where to put things. This is a team that knows how to field well and position well. Just a quick time called. Jenkins and O'Neill to talk about some things because this is a pretty important pitch. And it does allow Kayla Dunn to sit and think about this one just a little bit longer. Game 1 of a doubleheader. Second one coming up near the 5:30 range. Ball 4. Okay. First 2 runners are on. It sends up the game-tying run in Brooke Rebhan. It looks like they're going to go another pinch hitter here. Juliana Paul, the freshman from West Hampton, New Jersey. Well, the first 2 pinch hitters have worked for Coach Conlon. Try a third here. Paul with 3 hits this year, batting 176. Can play outfield, Paul. A long stare from O'Neill. Paul, by the way, last hit, March 22nd against Villanova. Was on briefly in the George Washington series and the Providence series. Actually slaps that one foul down the third base line. just looking for an avenue to the top of the order for Georgetown. Got away from that one. 1-1. It looks like a pinch runner over at first base as well for Georgetown. Holly Pardini is back in. She was pinch hit for by Kayla Dunn, who got the walk. So it's a re-enter, if you will. This one hit over at shortstop, and she is out of the baseline. Schiller. So get the lead runner. One away. Claire Turner is up and still representing the tying run. She has 2 homers this season. Most recent of those homers, well, that was against Villanova as well. That was March 24th, and the ball gets away. And both runners advance 1-0. So still a single that would get a couple of runs in, but it would not give Georgetown a lead or tie it. Time called. Seeing if they're wanting to go to another pitcher or not, or if Coach Valentino just needs to straighten a few things out with her star closer, who was excellent right when she came on, and this inning has dug into a little bit of frustration. Peyton Kinney is tossing right now in the UConn pen. Perhaps the holdoff is because they want to use her in game 2. This game was started by Sims. Leads the team in innings. And it is O'Neill coming in for right now. A spot that she's very much picked up a very comfortable role with. 1-0 to Claire Turner. Hit by a pitch last in the 5th, and then singled in the 3rd. Pitches on to her, stays below the knees. 2-0. Some slightly nervy moments right now. Wind is blowing in. Takes it again, shows that bunt away, and here's an opportunity as the ball gets away. Both runners advance, one crosses. Pardini is in, and so it's 4-2. So 2 wild pitches, and they moved runners over, and one scores one. And that's a big strike for O'Neill. So it was looking to go to ball 4 to Claire Turner, who still represents the tying run. Taking to her again. Ball 4 that time. Second walk of this inning. Interesting. Here's Emily Strittmatter. Oh, so far the pinch hitters for Coach Collin have worked. Just wanted a bridge to get to the top of the order. Double play is perhaps in order, but you know Claire Turner, she leads this team in stolen bases. 13 of 17 this season. You better believe that might be one of the objectives. As if she can get into scoring position, she still represents the tying run. That would get her 60 feet closer. Coach Conlon out to talk and wants to take advantage of the few wild pitches that have been dealt by O'Neill. And they're actually going to put Rebhan back out there. 2-0. And now all of a sudden O'Neal, trouble locating the strike zone. Some patient hitting by these Hoyas. This has all been manufactured from just one hit. It was by Schiller. It's her first hit of 2024. 2-1. And some encouragement by the first baseman in Kupal and the shortstop in Sandin towards O'Neal, who is feeding off of some encouragement, and a fielder's indifference allows Turner into second. So now it's 2 runners in scoring position. Strittmatter has 1 run in this game. Grounded into a double play in the 5th. Has some contact and foul ball. 2-2. She represents the go-ahead and winning run. And they're going to move in, Kibling. All the outfielders in just a little bit, wanting to keep things in front. Just outside. Oh my, oh, they said she went. Strike 3. And that is 2 outs. Well, the home plate umpire held off. Wanted to check with the third base umpire, and he called it true. 2 outs. Oh my. And so steps in the home run hitter, Anaya Campos. Watch out, this one towering. It looks like it's gonna stay in the yard. It's caught by Hastings, and that is all for this one. Well, it was unconventional, but O'Neal still got through it and helps close out the game and gives UConn their 28th win of the season, moving to 14-8. Georgetown dropping to 14-31, 4-18 in Big East play. And they still have another chance to get one back in Game 2 of the doubleheader today, which shouldn't start too long from now. We'll run through the runs really quickly here. 4-2 being the final score. It started with the Hoyas in the first inning. They got a walk from Strittmatter. It was Kozo who ended up hitting her around. Strittmatter had some pretty nice base running to get there, and it was 1-0 lead for a really long time. It was that lead until about the 5th inning, and that's when everything came alive. Ring walked, Hastings singled, Jenkins with an RBI double, and an RBI single for Rosie Garcia, and then a sacrifice fly for Jonna Sandin. That was all 3 of the runs. 6th inning, they got one more RBI double again for Jenkins. It scored Savannah Ring, so she ended up with 2 runs in the game. But the Hoyas were not down in the 7th inning. They tried. They got a single and a walk to start it all off. They had the tying run standing at second base and just could not do it. Naya Campos ended up finishing the day 0 for 4, had one towering there in the left, but it stayed just inside the lip of that warning track, and that was the final out as O'Neal came on in and closed it. It was really strong right when she came on, and even though the 7th inning was a little tricky, she still got through it. But that'll do it for us for this first one today. Again, second leg of the doubleheader coming up soon here at the Nationals Youth Baseball Academy. But for now, I'm Christian Taylor saying so long, and a special shout out to Art Pittman, who runs the camera as our producer on this one. So long. Final score, UConn 4, Georgetown 2. We'll see you soon, everybody.